In my last video, I talked about the critical flaw of the 2021 Bucks roster. I believe that the Bucks can compete for a title with Giannis as their superstar and Mike Budenholzer as their head coach. However, I don't believe the Bucks can win a title if Brook Lopez is playing a huge piece in the Bucks playoff rotation. Lopez is a defensive liability anywhere outside of the restricted area, and the Bucks don't have many other options outside of Brook to fix this roster. Milwaukee has to make a move to acquire a dynamic forward or center that could change the way the Bucks play defensively and that can get them out of that dreaded drop coverage. I'll address how the Bucks can fix this hole in 3 ways. First, I'll address how or even if the Bucks could fix the issue with guys already on their roster. Second, I'll talk about possible trade candidates, and finally, I'll look at potential buyout candidates the Bucks could add. Outside of Brook Lopez and Giannis, the Bucks have only one guy taller than 6'8" that gets legit minutes. That guy is Bobby Portis. While I like Portis' versatility offensively, he can't move laterally with forwards, and he doesn't protect the paint. He can't make up for the shortcomings of Brook Lopez. The Bucks also have DJ Wilson on the roster, but if you're a Bucks fan, I don't have to tell you that lanky smooth isn't the long-term answer. Then, if you're looking at this roster for guys to play at the power forward spot next to Giannis, there really are only 3 options: Chris Middleton, Torrey Craig, and the oldest, Antetokounmpo. While I think Chris can play the 4 in short bursts, I don't think it will work for extended periods of time because I think Chris Middleton would struggle being the primary cleanup rebounder on plays where Giannis contests shots at the rim, and I think constantly battling bigger forwards night in and night out during the season would eventually wear Middleton down physically. In regards to Torrey Craig, I just don't think he's good. He's not an above-average athlete, rebounder, shooter, or defender, and he's simply not going to move the needle. I like the presence that the Thanasis Antetokounmpo has and the energy he brings, especially defensively. However, if Thanasis gets minutes during the playoffs, teams will completely ignore them like they have done to guys like Andre Robertson in the past, and the Bucks offense will suffer because of it. There's one player on the Bucks roster that I feel could potentially fill this role, and he's currently balling down in the G League bubble. The Bucks currently have a couple players playing down in the G League, but by far the most intriguing is Mamadi Diakite, the 6'9", lanky forward who's been putting up over 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game in barely over 26 minutes per contest, including an impressive 25, 15, and 5 block performance just a couple nights ago. Diakite has shown flashes of athleticism and an outside jumper in the G League. Despite being labeled a rookie, Diakite has more experience than most after playing 4 years at the University of Virginia and winning a national championship in 2019. I hope he'll at least get a chance to show what he can do in an NBA game. While it's unlikely that Mamadi would fill holes that the Bucks have in their roster as a rookie, you never know. If Milwaukee would have let their G League forward get legit minutes a couple of years ago, they might have already filled this hole on their roster.
Jumped out to a lead here, and Christian Wood sends it home off the bounce pass from Ack. That's with 2 fouls of the game now. Machado drops it off, and Christian Wood with the block. Franchise leader in reject for Christian Wood. Alley-oop, Christian Wood, 45 points in the game.
While it's unlikely that the solution to the Bucks' defensive problems is already sitting on the bench, the more likely way to fill that hole would be via trade. Trades will not be easy for the Bucks, however, as they don't have any marquee young assets, and they don't have the majority of their upcoming draft picks. With that being said, here are 3 realistic trades the Bucks could make to fix their roster holes. First trade target I'll start with is PJ Tucker. The Bucks have already been reported to have been interested in PJ, but because of his expiring contract and advanced age, Milwaukee cannot trade too much to acquire Tucker. The Bucks already don't have a ton of young talent moving forward, so I'd argue that you can't trade a guy like Dante DiVincenzo for PJ. I think the Bucks could offer Brook Lopez, and if you wanted to throw in a second-round pick for PJ Tucker. You could argue this makes both teams better. Even since the Harden trade, the Rockets haven't fully committed to a full rebuild. To be honest, they can't, because they traded away a bunch of their future picks, including the pick in this year's draft. The Bucks could sell Houston on a future with Lopez at center, lining up next to Christian Wood and in the lineup with John Wall. The Rockets have, like I said, John Wall, Christian Wood, and Eric Gordon locked up for the next 3 years. So they're not going to be able to tear this team down and go into complete rebuild mode. And because of that, they might as well make a move to remain competitive for the future. Like we saw a couple days ago, they did offer Victor Oladipo an extension. The Rockets are trying to stay competitive, and this move could help them remain competitive without losing an asset in the future. This trade would give the Bucks the defensive versatility they so desperately need next to Giannis, and really give them a small ball lineup they could go to. I'll close the PJ Tucker trade talks by saying this. This trade only happens if the Bucks are the only real player in the PJ Tucker sweepstakes. In other terms, if a team like the Celtics or any other team looking to improve joins in the discussions with the Bucks aren't going to be able to compete with offers of those teams. This trade will only happen if the Rockets are left to decide between losing Tucker for nothing at the end of the season or accept this kind of trade. And like I said, due to Tucker's age and contract, the Bucks can't move off of a guy like Dante to acquire him because Dante is their only young asset moving forward. The second trade that I'll propose is Dante DiVincenzo and DJ Wilson for John Collins and Solomon Hill. This trade would provide the Bucks with a dynamic power forward to put alongside Giannis, and it would give the Hawks a two-way guard to put next to Trae Young. In my opinion, the Hawks can't re-sign John Collins because there's no way he can fit in the lineup with Danilo Gallinari defensively. So I think the Hawks should be looking to get any value that they can for their forward. Atlanta already has their point guard of the future, a big, and a bevy of wings, but one piece this team is missing is a two-way guard to line up next to Trae. The Bucks could sell Atlanta on Dante being that piece. He's a better defender than Kevin Huerter and a better offensive player than Chris Dunn. One problem with this move from the Bucks' perspective, however, would be Collins' pending free agency. With Jrue Holiday already set to become a free agent, Bucks ownership would have to be willing to go way over the salary cap to keep both Collins and Holiday, but it would be doable. On a funny note about this trade is that the Bucks actually selected DJ Wilson 2 spots ahead of John Collins in the 2017 draft, so they could have solved that issue there too. And the last team I think the Bucks should consider making a move with is the Sacramento Kings. The Kings currently have 2 forwards that, while they most likely won't fill the need for the Bucks defensively, could add to the versatility of the Bucks lineups and allow Giannis to get more run at the 5. Those 2 targets are Jabari Parker and Nemanja Bjelica. Parker has struggled defensively throughout his career. The last time Parker got legit minutes, he put up 15 and 6 on decent shooting, and I think there is still some motivation for him to make it work in Milwaukee. Plus, according to all accounts, say that Giannis and Jabari were great friends, so I don't think it would hurt to bring a guy in like that. Bjelica is a better shooter and overall player than Parker, but he would hurt the Bucks just as much on defense as a guy like Brook Lopez. Neither of these guys would move the needle for the Bucks, but they would allow Giannis to play more minutes at the 5, and for both these trades, I would offer DJ Wilson and Torrey Craig. The Kings showed some interest in Wilson over the summer, and they aren't really playing guys like Parker or Bjelica. So you could basically count this as we're trading our guys that aren't playing for your guys that aren't playing. It might be a better fit. As much as I'd like to say the Bucks could make a move for a guy like Al Horford, Larry Nance, or Aaron Gordon, the truth is they don't have the salaries, the players, or the future picks to make those kind of moves. And this might make the Bucks players in the buyout market. As we get past the trade deadline, a number of older players will be bought out of their contracts and become free agents. Milwaukee could be a potential destination for buyout players like we saw last year with Marvin Williams. With that being said, here are 3 potential buyout targets for the Bucks. Blake Griffin. The Detroit Pistons shut down Griffin earlier this season with the expectation of trading him or negotiating a buyout. I don't think there are going to be any suitors for Griffin at his current salary as a trade, and I also struggle to see how they're going to negotiate a buyout with multiple years left on the contract. But Griffin is no longer playing Little Caesars Arena. If Griffin does hit the open market, the Bucks should explore signing him. Griffin's ball handling, passing, and shooting would give them a new offensive element. While he wouldn't fill the hole defensively, he could bring a new side to the Bucks offense and give them a more dynamic offensive player to play next to Giannis. Second player is Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza is the prototypical 3-and-D player and is a clear candidate for a buyout as he's sitting on the OKC bench. Ariza is a 6'8" defensive-minded wing with a 35% three-point stroke and would be a great fit on this Bucks team. My biggest concern with Ariza is that he won't come to Milwaukee. Ariza has clear ties to LA And with both LA teams competing for a title, I wouldn't be surprised if he signed with one of those teams instead of the Bucks. But he would be a great pickup if Milwaukee was able to get him. And the last candidate I would like to talk about is Otto Porter Jr. As I was looking up potential buyout candidates, I came across an article that talked about Otto Porter Jr. With the Bulls drafting Patrick Williams and Porter's struggles ever since signing with Chicago, he has the potential to be a buyout candidate. If Porter Jr. hits the open market, the Bucks need to pounce. A legit 6'8 wing with defensive chops and a nice jumper would be the perfect guy to slot in this Bucks lineup. I don't see the incentive from the Bulls' perspective to buy out Porter, especially now that they're competing for a playoff spot, but if they do, the Bucks should be the first team to call. Brook Lopez will be unplayable in a playoff series against the Nets. But if the Bucks stick with this current roster, Budenholzer won't have any choice but to play him. If you think Goran Dragic, Tyler Herro were able to take advantage of that drop coverage, just imagine what Kyrie and Harden will do. If the Bucks really want to commit to competing for a title in 2021, they need to make a move. Whether it's trading for PJ Tucker, promoting Mamadi Diakite, or exploring the buyout market, anything would be better than watching the inevitable barrage of floaters, threes, and offensive rebounds surrendered by Lopez if he's allowed to remain the starting center. With that being said, do you think the Bucks should make any of the moves I suggested in the video? Are there any other players that you think they should target? Let's talk about it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subbing. I'm really trying to hit 100 subs and put out some more consistent content for you guys. But either way, thanks for checking out the video.